The earth trembled beneath Enkidu's feet as the bull of heaven poured the shattered plain, steam rising from its nostrils like smoke from a furnace. Dust burned his throat as the sky shook. Gilgamesh braced beside him, king and friend, yet even his divine blood quivered in the creature's shadow. A single breath separated triumph from annihilation. Enkidu tightened his grip on the wild wind within him, wondering whether mortal strength would save him or whether the goddess's vengeance would prove stronger. Long before this moment, Enkidu had walked far from the wilderness that birthed him. A year had passed since he first wrestled Gilgamesh and found in him not an enemy, but a brother. Together, they carved their names into cedar and stone by slaying Humbaba in the sacred forest, returning home crowned in glory. Yet glory cast long shadows. Prophets whispered warnings, and dreams carried omens wrapped in smoke as though fate itself was stirring. Their triumph over Humbaba fed Gilgamesh's fire. The king declared that no terror could stand before them. Enkidu felt pride swell within him, but pride was a treacherous companion. He remembered the trembling of the forest when Humbaba fell and the gods' displeasure. Still, he followed. For wherever Gilgamesh walked, Enkidu's heart walked too, bound by friendship stronger than spear or oath. When Ishtar descended, radiant and terrible, to offer Gilgamesh divine marriage, Enkidu sensed the coming storm. The goddess's voice rolled like thunder, promising dominion and splendor. Gilgamesh refused her with the arrogance of a young king who believed himself untouchable. Enkidu felt the air tighten, for a king may deny a woman, but no mortal denies a goddess without price. They prepared for unknown consequences. Enkidu bathed in cold river water, whispering ancient oaths to stand firm and guard his brother's life. Gilgamesh donned his lion-hide cloak and raised his bronze blade, vowing that whatever came, they would face it together. That promise sealed Enkidu's path, just as the horizon split open with the arrival of a force no mortal had ever witnessed. The bull of heaven descended like a star torn from the sky, its hooves cracking the earth into wounded stone. Enkidu felt its power before he fully saw it, a trembling that gripped the world. The goddess had not merely sought revenge, she had unleashed a celestial weapon. And Enkidu, who had chosen his brother over the heavens, felt the weight of destiny settle across his shoulders. The bull's roar split the sky. Its first strike swallowed 100 warriors in a single chasm of dust and screams. Enkidu felt the scorching wind of its passing. Even Gilgamesh staggered beneath its celestial force. This was no earthly beast, but a living shard of the constellations, forged from the eldest power of the heavens. Enkidu understood the creature's aim. It sought not the city nor the throne, but Gilgamesh's pride itself. And in its eyes, he saw the shadow of his deepest fear, losing the bond that had reshaped his life. The bull lunged, and Enkidu pushed Gilgamesh aside just before the earth shattered beneath the king's former stance. They fought together with the rhythm of seasoned brothers. Gilgamesh advanced with blade flashing, and Enkidu circled left, feet hammering the ground. Strike, dodge, advance. The bull carved trenches through the soil and drove them apart with divine ferocity. Sweat stung Enkidu's eyes as his muscles burned and his heart thundered like a drum of war. Gilgamesh slashed sparks from the bull's star-forged hide. Enkidu hurled stones that cracked against its skull. Still the beast charged. Then came a chilling revelation. As Enkidu met its gaze, he felt Ishtar's whisper coil through his bones, reminding him he had been shaped from clay to tame a king and would now be destroyed for defying the heavens on that king's behalf. The truth struck him. He feared being left behind, replaced, forgotten as Gilgamesh grew beyond him. The goddess knew his secret, yet instead of breaking him, the revelation sharpened him. Enkidu roared with the voice of the wild, born of forest winds and lion dens, and launched himself at the bull with a fury that belonged to the earth itself. He seized the bull's tail. The world lurched as the creature bucked like a chained storm god. Enkidu's heels carved trenches into the ground. His shoulders screamed with pain, but he held, mortal hands locking around divine fury. In that moment, the wild man anchored the heavens, refusing to release the creature that threatened his brother. Gilgamesh surged forward as Enkidu shouted for him to strike. The king's bronze blade flashed like the last light of sunset as he plunged it deep into the bull's neck. Its death cry shook the plains, and the creature collapsed in a quake of earth and sky. Silence fell over the field. The celestial monster lay dead. Yet triumph carried its shadow. Enkidu stood over the fallen bull, feeling something inside him shift, as though an invisible thread had snapped. The battle was won, but he sensed the gods had marked him. The wild man who once knew only freedom now felt destiny's chain tightening around his heart. The people of Uruk celebrated their heroes, but the cheers rang hollow to Enkidu. He felt the gods' gaze upon him, heavy and unrelenting. Gilgamesh clapped his arm in victory, but Enkidu's smile was weak. A fracture had formed within him, a silent warning echoing through his soul. Then Ishtar appeared upon the city walls, her face carved from fury. She cursed Gilgamesh for killing her divine beast. Gilgamesh bore her rage with defiant contempt. Enkidu did not. Recklessness surged like fire in his veins. He tore the bull's thigh and hurled it at the goddess, a mortal defying the heavens in the most unforgivable way. Silence fell over Uruk, and within that silence, fate closed its fist. Days later, Enkidu collapsed as a celestial sickness claimed him. His skin dimmed, his breath rattled, and the wild strength that lifted mountains deserted him. Gilgamesh remained at his side, powerless against the will of the gods. Enkidu understood the cost. He had anchored the bull of heaven, saved his brother, and saved the city. But each act, each victory, carved away pieces of the life left to him. The gods had noticed, and the gods did not forgive. As fever deepened, he realized the truth. It was not strength that saved them, but their unity, their choice to stand as one against the heavens. At last, Enkidu whispered his farewell. Gilgamesh bowed his head, king no longer, only a grieving brother. Enkidu slipped into silence, leaving behind a wound no blade could inflict. The goddess still lived, and the gods still watched, but Gilgamesh rose from the chamber transformed, carrying a sorrow deeper than any scar. History remembers Enkidu for strength and wild defiance. But in his final breath, he learned that even the mighty cannot outrun fate, and every triumph carries its shadow. Ahead waited the distant water of death, and a long road toward a truth that would test Gilgamesh more than any spear or god. Thus began the journey that would reshape the world's first hero and carve his lament into the tablets of time. Subscribe to Saga Weaver, where ancient warriors face impossible choices and forgotten epics rise again.